listen to me closely, because what I'm about to say might wake up something in you that's been sleeping for far too long. There was a time, maybe years ago, maybe last night, when you made a promise to yourself, a promise that one day you'd rise, that one day you break free, that one day you'd stop settling and start living. You told yourself you'd build something better, something powerful, something meaningful. But somewhere along the way, life got loud. The noise of the world drowned out that voice inside you. You started trading your dreams for comfort, your passion for safety, your fire for approval. You see, most people forget that promise. They let time dull their edge. They let fear write their story, and they start convincing themselves that the dream was unrealistic. But here's the truth. It's not that the dream was too big. It's that the belief got too small. And that promise you made wasn't a fantasy. It was a message from your future self calling you to rise. Every single time you remember it, you reconnect to the deepest part of your purpose. Don't forget the life you promised to yourself, because that promise wasn't made to impress anyone. It was made to liberate you. It was made in a moment of clarity when you saw who you could become if you stopped letting fear dictate your choices. Think back to that version of you, the one who believed anything was possible, who didn't care what others thought, who was hungry for growth, hungry for more. That version of you is still there, buried under doubt, under excuses, under the weight of other people's expectations. But it's there, waiting for you to remember. You owe it to that version of you to stand up and say, I haven't forgotten. You owe it to yourself to stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. You owe it to yourself to live in alignment with the fire that once burned in your soul, because nothing hurts more than the pain of regret, the pain of knowing you could have, but didn't. You can't lie to that voice inside. You can't silence it forever. It will always whisper, remember what you said you'd become. Don't tell yourself you don't have time. You do. Don't tell yourself you're too old. It's never too late. Don't tell yourself you don't have what it takes. You've always had what it takes. The only thing you've been missing is the decision to recommit to your own vision. You've been waiting for a perfect moment, a perfect plan, a perfect opportunity, but perfection is just procrastination in disguise. The time is now. The power is now. And I want you to think about this. What if you lived every single day like the promise you made was sacred? What if you treated your goals as non-negotiable? What if you stopped negotiating with your excuses and started negotiating with your potential? You don't need to start big. You just need to start with conviction. One small act of commitment can ignite the fire again. When you wake up tomorrow, ask yourself, am I honoring the life I promised myself, or am I betraying it? Because every choice you make is a vote for the person you want to become. Every day you either move closer to that life or drift further away. And if you're tired, if you're beaten down, if life has knocked you around, good. That means you're alive. That means you've still got fight in you. That means there's still a chapter left to write. I know you've fallen. I know you've failed. I know you've doubted yourself. But let me tell you something, you're not done yet. You were built to endure, to rise, to overcome. You've carried promises inside you that the world hasn't even seen yet. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. So take a deep breath, stand tall, and make a new decision today. A decision to remember who you are, to remember the promise you made on the nights when no one was watching, to remember that your future self is counting on you to not give up now. You didn't come this far to only come this far. Don't forget the life you promised to yourself. Reignite it, rebuild it, reclaim it. Because the world doesn't need another person who gave up on their dream. The world needs someone who remembers, someone who refuses to let go, someone who fights for the life they once saw in their mind and finally brings it into reality. There comes a moment in life when you must pause and ask yourself a powerful question. What happened to the promise I made to myself? That spark you once had, the fire in your chest, the vision in your heart, the determination in your eyes. It wasn't an illusion. It was a signal from your true self calling you to step up, to become something greater. You once looked in the mirror and said, I'm going to change. I'm going to make something of my life. You saw a better version of yourself in your mind and you swore to chase it no matter what. But then somewhere between the chaos of everyday life, the responsibilities, the fear of failure, and the opinions of others, that promise got buried under the noise. It didn't die. It's still there, quietly waiting for you to remember who you were before you started doubting yourself. That promise was made in a moment of truth. It came from a place of clarity from the deepest corner of your soul where there are no lies, no excuses, no limitations. You made it when you were fed up with mediocrity and when you were tired of settling, when you felt that pulse inside that said, there's more for me. That voice was real. It wasn't random. It was your potential calling you to rise. And the sad part is most people forget that moment. They let life numb them. They let time steal their hunger. They start believing the lie that they're too far gone, too late, too stuck to change. But that's not you. You are not your circumstances. You are not your mistakes. You are not the labels the world has put on you. You are the promise you made to yourself, and that means you can return to it anytime you choose. When you reconnect with that promise, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your focus sharpens. You stop asking for permission to grow. You stop needing validation to move forward. You stop chasing other people's approval and start chasing your own greatness again. Reconnecting with that promise isn't about motivation. It's about identity. And it's about remembering who you said you'd become when no one was watching. It's about walking back into the fire of your own potential and saying, I'm ready to live again. Because deep down, you know you were never meant to live an average life. You were never meant to wake up just to survive another day. You were meant to build something extraordinary, to feel alive, to push yourself beyond what's comfortable, and to honor that whisper that's been trying to get your attention for years. So many people spend their lives waiting for the right moment, the perfect plan, the ideal circumstances. But that's not how transformation happens. It begins the moment you say, I'm done forgetting who I am. You start by reconnecting with that original energy, the energy that made you dream in the first place. You start remembering what it felt like to believe without doubt, to act without hesitation, to see your future so clearly that nothing could stop you. That version of you isn't gone. It's just buried under fear and fatigue. It's waiting for you to wake it up. And the moment you do, your entire state changes. You start thinking differently. You start moving differently. You start carrying yourself with the confidence of someone who's found their purpose again. Because once you remember that promise, you start to remember your power. You see, the real reason most people feel lost isn't because they don't have goals. It's because they've lost connection with their inner commitment. They've lost touch with that personal oath they once made to rise, to grow, to win. They're chasing everything on the outside: money, comfort, approval. But what they're really starving for is a reconnection to themselves. When you realign with your original promise, you stop drifting and start directing. You stop living by default and start living by design. You start taking ownership of your energy, your time, your focus, your habits. You begin to feel that hunger again, the one that refuses to let you settle. That hunger is sacred. It's your soul's reminder that you still have more inside you to give, more mountains to climb, more impact to make. Reconnecting with the promise you made to yourself means choosing honesty over comfort. It means looking in the mirror and admitting that you've been playing small, that you've let distractions pull you off course, that you've allowed fear to silence your purpose. It means owning the fact that you've been dimming your light to fit in when you were born to stand out. But here's the beauty: the moment you take responsibility, you reclaim your power. Responsibility is freedom. When you stop blaming circumstances and start remembering your promise, you take back control of your destiny. You stop waiting for a miracle and start becoming one. You stop wishing for change and start creating it. One choice, one action, one moment at a time. It's not always going to be easy. There will be days when you doubt yourself again, when the old habits try to pull you back, when the world tests your commitment. But that's exactly when you must remember the promise. That's when you must remind yourself why you started. That's when you must look at how far you've come instead of how far you have left to go. Reconnection is not a one-time event. It's a daily decision. Every morning you wake up, you have to choose to live aligned with the promise or drift away from it. And the more you choose alignment, the stronger that promise becomes. It starts shaping your thoughts, influencing your behavior, guiding your decisions. It becomes your compass again, pulling you toward your highest self. Think about what your life would look like if you truly lived by that promise every single day. How would you walk into a room? How would you speak? How would you treat your time? How would you show up for your goals? You'd stop shrinking. You'd stop apologizing for wanting more. You'd stop living half awake. You'd start leading your life with conviction. You'd start saying no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that expand you. You'd stop waiting for people to believe in you because you'd finally believe in yourself again. And that belief, that fire, that alignment, it becomes magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. The universe bends to it. Because when you live in harmony with the promise you made, everything starts moving in your favor. You can feel when you're disconnected from it. Your energy feels flat. Your confidence fades. Your purpose feels distant. But the instant you reconnect, it's like life starts breathing through you again. You start to feel unstoppable, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally remembered who you are. The person who made that promise wasn't weak. They were powerful. They were fearless. They saw something in themselves that no one else could see. And it's your responsibility to honor that vision, to protect it, to bring it to life no matter how long it takes or how hard it gets. Because the moment you reconnect with the promise you made to yourself, you reconnect with your destiny. You stop wandering and start becoming. You stop existing and start living at a level that once only existed in your imagination. You remember that your future isn't something to wait for. It's something to claim. Every single person has two voices inside them. One voice whispers dreams, power, and possibility, the voice of truth. The other whispers excuses, fear, and limitation, the voice of comfort. And for most people, that second voice wins every single day because they've spent years negotiating with their excuses. They built a life that's convenient, predictable, and small, all while burying the very vision that once lit them up inside. There's a moment in your journey where you must stop making deals with your comfort zone and start honoring your vision again. Because the truth is, you can't build the life you promised yourself while making peace with the very things holding you back. You can't claim greatness while protecting your excuses. You can't step into your potential while clinging to your limitations. The life you want requires a new level of commitment, a commitment where your dreams are non-negotiable and your excuses are unacceptable. There's a dangerous pattern that keeps people trapped in mediocrity. It's the habit of explaining why they can't instead of remembering why they must. They say things like, I'm tired. I don't have time. It's not the right moment. Maybe later. But those phrases are poison to your potential. Every time you speak them, you give your excuses authority over your destiny. Every time you negotiate with fear, you delay your growth. And what's worse is that it feels reasonable in the moment. The mind is clever. It convinces you that your excuses are logical, that they're protecting you from pain, from embarrassment, from failure. But all they're doing is keeping you stuck in the same cycle, living beneath what you're capable of. At some point, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, enough. I'm done negotiating with weakness. I'm done giving up my vision for temporary comfort. I'm done letting fear make my choices for me. That's where the real transformation begins. Honoring your vision is about returning to the highest standard you set for yourself. It's about choosing discipline over doubt, action over hesitation, and courage over comfort. It's about treating your dream like a sacred contract, not a casual wish. When you start honoring your vision, you move differently. You think differently. You stop caring about being understood, and you start caring about being unstoppable. You stop chasing the approval of others and start chasing your own potential. The world starts to test you. Obstacles appear, people doubt you, circumstances shake you. But every challenge becomes fuel because you're no longer reacting from fear. You're responding from faith. You begin to trust that the vision wasn't given to you by accident. It was placed inside you because you're meant to bring it to life. Most people want the rewards of success without the responsibility of staying committed. They want the results without the repetition. They want the spotlight without the struggle. But that's not how transformation works. To honor your vision, you must be willing to sacrifice your excuses daily. You must stop saying, I'll do it when I feel ready. Because the truth is you'll never feel ready. And readiness is a myth. The only real preparation is decision and action. Every time you choose to take a step forward instead of waiting, you're building momentum. You're building belief. You're proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. And that self-trust, that inner certainty, and becomes the foundation of your new identity. It's no longer about motivation. It's about integrity. And you're either living in alignment with your vision or you're betraying it. There is no middle ground. Think about what happens when you stop negotiating with your excuses. The moment you stop giving your limitations oxygen, you create space for possibility. Suddenly your mind opens up. You start finding ways instead of reasons. You start creating solutions instead of stories. You start moving with purpose instead of hesitation. And it's not because life got easier. It's because you stopped feeding the part of you that's been holding you back. The truth is, your excuses will always sound convincing because they're designed to protect you from discomfort. But if you keep protecting yourself from discomfort, you also protect yourself from growth, pain, failure, rejection. They're all part of the process. They're not obstacles, they're proof that you're expanding. When you stop seeing discomfort as punishment and start seeing it as progress, you stop running from it. You start embracing it. You start using it as fuel. There's a certain power that comes when you honor your vision relentlessly. You start living with intention instead of impulse. You stop saying yes to distractions and start saying yes to direction. You stop chasing quick gratification and start building long-term fulfillment. You start organizing your time around your purpose instead of your fears. That's when the real shift happens, when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? Because that's the real fear, isn't it? Not failure, but regret. The regret of knowing you could have done more. You could have lived the life you dreamed of. But you didn't because you kept negotiating with the part of you that was afraid. The day you stop negotiating is the day you start transforming. It's the day you take back control of your narrative and remind yourself that you're not here to survive. You're here to create. Every time you make a decision that honors your vision, no matter how small, you're rewriting your identity. You're teaching your mind that your word means something. You're building an inner standard that can't be shaken by opinions, setbacks, or temporary emotions. That's how confidence is built, not by positive thinking, but by consistent alignment between your words and your actions. When your behavior matches your vision, your belief grows. You start walking with a different energy. You start attracting new opportunities, new people, new experiences that match the frequency of your commitment. Because the universe responds to decisiveness. It moves for the person who moves with clarity. And when you honor your vision fully, without apology or hesitation, you start to see doors open that once looked locked. You might lose people along the way. You might outgrow environments that no longer feed your purpose. You might have to let go of habits, routines, and even relationships that keep you tied to your excuses. And that's okay. Growth requires separation. You cannot carry the weight of your old self into the next level of your life. The version of you that made excuses cannot survive in the world of results. The person you're becoming demands more focus, more courage, more honesty. So when the old patterns try to pull you back, when fear tries to whisper that you're not ready, remember this: you're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel called. And when you feel that call, you don't negotiate with it. You answer it. Stop letting your mind tell you stories about why you can't. Stop letting your circumstances dictate your potential. Stop waiting for someone else to believe in your dream more than you do. Your vision belongs to you. It's your responsibility to protect it, to nurture it, to fight for it. Because if you don't, no one will. When you start treating your vision as sacred, you stop wasting time on things that don't move you closer to it. You start saying no to comfort because you're saying yes to purpose. You stop chasing what's easy because you're building what's meaningful. And that's where power lives, in the space where excuses die and execution begins. The moment you stop negotiating with your excuses and start honoring your vision, and your life starts to align, your energy changes, your decisions change, your identity evolves. You start to feel a sense of certainty that no failure can shake, no challenge can break, no opinion can diminish. Because you've stepped into a space where your vision is law, where your commitment is unshakable, where your purpose leads and your excuses no longer have a voice. And once you live from that place, you don't just chase success, you embody it. Every single choice you make carries weight. Every decision, no matter how small, is shaping the direction of your life. You're not just acting in the moment, you're voting for the type of person you're becoming. When you decide to hit the snooze button instead of getting up early, that's a vote. When you choose to complain instead of create, that's a vote. When you decide to take one more step toward your goal, even when no one's watching, that's a vote too. Every action is either pulling you closer to the life you promised yourself or pushing you further away. Most people don't realize it, but their future isn't built by massive leaps. It's built by these small daily decisions. And the reality is, you are always building something, whether it's progress or regret. The question is, which one are you building right now? People talk about success like it's one big moment, a breakthrough, a lucky break, a single opportunity that changes everything. But that's not how it works. Success is the accumulation of consistent votes for your future self. It's what happens when you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, growth over comfort, again and again. Every time you follow through on your commitments, you reinforce your identity as someone who's reliable, focused, and unstoppable. But every time you break those commitments, every time you choose convenience over consistency, you weaken that identity. You teach your mind that your words don't matter. You teach yourself that your goals are negotiable. And over time, that creates a gap, a painful distance between who you are and who you said you'd become. That gap is where frustration lives. That gap is where your dreams start to fade. And the only way to close it is through conscious, consistent decisions that align with your vision. When you understand that every choice is a vote, you start to live differently. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on momentum. You stop hoping things will change and start creating the conditions for change. You begin to realize that you're in full control of your destiny, not because of what happens to you, but because of how you respond to it. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can always control your choices. And those choices compound. Just like small bad habits add up and destroy your potential, small good habits add up and transform your life. Every time you choose growth, every time you keep your word, every time you take one more step when you don't feel like it, you're depositing votes into the account of your future. Over time, those votes turn into momentum, and momentum turns into identity. That's when you stop forcing change and start becoming it. There's power in realizing that your decisions are not isolated. They're connected. The way you do one thing affects how you do everything. When you cut corners in one area of your life, that mindset seeps into others. When you bring discipline into one part of your life, that same energy expands everywhere. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment. When your choices consistently reflect your goals, your life begins to move in that direction naturally. But when your choices contradict your goals, you create internal conflict. That's when you feel stuck, when you feel unfulfilled, when you feel like you're working hard but not moving forward. It's not because you lack potential. It's because your decisions are divided. You can't build a life of purpose with the habits of distraction. You can't build confidence while practicing inconsistency. You can't become your best self while choosing what's easiest over what's right. Most people underestimate the power of small decisions because they don't see immediate results. They think one missed workout, one wasted hour, one broken promise doesn't matter. But that's how mediocrity grows, one rationalized excuse at a time. Every little compromise adds up. Every just this once slowly becomes your standard, but it works both ways. One act of courage can spark belief. One moment of discipline can create momentum. One powerful decision can remind you of your strength. The key is awareness. Every day you wake up, you have the opportunity to cast votes for your future. You have the power to shape who you're becoming. And the beauty is, it doesn't matter where you've been. It matters where you're going and what you decide right now. You can rewrite your identity one decision at a time. Your decisions are either serving your vision or sabotaging it. There's no neutral. Every choice is energy moving in a direction. When you say yes to your distractions, you're saying no to your destiny. When you say yes to your fears, you're saying no to your freedom. But when you say yes to discipline, yes to purpose, yes to the life you promised yourself, everything starts to align. You begin to move with a sense of integrity that changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who wishes for change and start seeing yourself as someone who creates it. That shift in identity is the foundation of transformation. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. Your standards are defined by your daily choices. If you raise your standards and your decisions follow, your life has no choice but to change. The truth is, your future self is watching you right now. Every decision you make is either building that version of you or betraying it. Picture that person, the one living the life you've dreamed about. How do they think? How do they act? How do they show up when it's hard? Because every choice you make today should be casting votes for that person. And if the version of you that's living your dream life walked into the room right now, would they thank you for your decisions? Or would they be disappointed? Would they say, "You've been building me," or "You've been avoiding me"? This isn't about guilt. It's about power. You are shaping your future in real time through every yes, every no, every compromise, every commitment. You're not waiting for your future to arrive. You're creating it with the choices you make today. You'll never always feel like doing what's necessary, but that's where strength is born. The gap between what you feel like doing and what you know you must do is the gap that defines your destiny. Every time you push through that resistance, you're voting for the strongest version of yourself. You're proving that your purpose is greater than your mood. And over time, those decisions build a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. You start trusting yourself. You start believing in your consistency. You start realizing that you no longer need external validation because your daily actions are already validating your worth. The confidence you're searching for doesn't come from achievements. It comes from alignment. It comes from knowing that your actions match your ambition. Think about how different your life would look if every decision you made came from your vision, not your emotions. If every time you were tempted to quit, you remembered the promise you made. If every time you faced a choice between easy and right, you chose right. That's how champions are made, not by massive moments of glory, but by quiet moments of discipline when no one is watching. The small wins build the foundation for the big victories. The consistent choices shape the unstoppable mindset. The person who wins in life isn't the most talented. It's the one who's most consistent in voting for their future self. Every decision matters because it's building momentum in one direction or another. You can't afford to be casual with your choices. Every time you act out of fear, you reinforce fear. Every time you act out of courage, you reinforce confidence. The direction of your life is the sum of those reinforcements. The more you choose strength over weakness, purpose over comfort, action over hesitation, the more powerful you become. You start living with a sense of clarity and focus that feels unshakable. You stop questioning your worth because your decisions are proof of it. You stop doubting your ability because your habits confirm it. Every vote you cast becomes evidence of who you are becoming, and eventually the evidence becomes undeniable. You don't just believe in your future. You embody it. There comes a point when remembering your dream is not enough. You have to rebuild it. You have to reclaim it. You have to live it like it's the air you breathe. The life you promised yourself isn't going to just show up one morning wrapped in perfection. It's something you have to create piece by piece with relentless focus and unwavering belief. There's a version of you deep down that already knows what that life looks like, what it feels like, what it demands. But it's waiting for you to commit. It's waiting for you to stop treating your potential like an option and start treating it like an obligation. The world doesn't need another person who talks about their dreams. The world needs the person who refuses to die with their potential still inside them. The person who decides right now to take back what they once saw in their imagination and bring it into reality no matter what it takes. Rebuilding your dream means facing the truth about where you are and what you've allowed yourself to become. It means admitting the areas where you've settled, where you've accepted good enough instead of demanding greatness. It means confronting the habits that have kept you stuck, the fears that have kept you quiet, the excuses that have kept you comfortable. It's about tearing down the walls you built to protect yourself from disappointment and realizing those same walls are keeping you trapped from your destiny. To rebuild, you must let go to you were to become who you're meant to be. You can't keep carrying the old stories, the old pain, the old version of yourself into a new life. You can't build something powerful on a foundation of fear. You have to dig deeper to get honest, to strip away the lies you've been telling yourself about why you can't. The life you promised yourself doesn't come from fantasy. It comes from radical responsibility. Reclaiming that life means taking back your power. It means no longer blaming time, luck, other people, or circumstances for where you are. It means standing tall and saying, this is my life, and I decide how it goes. The moment you take ownership, the game changes. The same energy you've been using to doubt yourself can be used to build yourself. The same intensity you've used to justify your limitations can be used to destroy them. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for the perfect plan. You're not waiting for confidence to magically appear. You create confidence through action. You create momentum through commitment. You reclaim your power the moment you stop expecting someone else to save you and start saving yourself. Because no one is coming. No one can do the push-ups for you. No one can fight your battles, walk your path, or live your dream. You have to do it. And once you realize that, you become unstoppable. Living the life you promised yourself requires alignment between your beliefs, your actions, and your purpose. You can't say you want change and then keep living the same way. You can't claim to want freedom while staying a prisoner to your excuses. The person you need to become to live that life is already inside you. But you have to activate them through consistency. Every single day is an opportunity to align your behavior with your vision. When you rebuild, you take action even when it's inconvenient. When you reclaim, you say no to everything that distracts you from your mission. When you live it, you carry yourself like the person you said you become long before the results show up. You walk, talk, and think like your future self until your reality has no choice but to catch up. That's how transformation happens. Not by waiting for proof, but by living as proof. You'll be tested on your journey. Life will challenge your belief in your dream. There will be days when it feels like everything is falling apart, when progress seems invisible, when the weight of the struggle feels unbearable. But that's when you're being refined. That's when life is asking you, how badly do you really want this? Because the truth is, and anyone can dream when it's easy, but the ones who make it real are the ones who keep going when it's hard. The ones who rebuild when it's broken. The ones who rise after being knocked down. The ones who don't need applause or recognition. They just keep moving. Reclaiming your dream means being willing to do the hard work in silence, knowing that one day your results will make the noise. It means having the courage to keep showing up when no one believes in you, when no one claps for you, when the only voice cheering you on is the one in your own chest that says, keep going. You rebuild by changing your standards. You reclaim by refusing to go back to who you were. You live by deciding that the dream isn't something you'll chase someday. It's something you'll embody today. And that starts with your mindset. You can't build a new life with the same thoughts that built your old one. You have to train your mind to see possibility instead of problems, progress instead of perfection, lessons instead of losses. You have to look at failure as feedback, rejection as redirection, struggle as preparation. Every obstacle is part of the blueprint for the life you promised yourself. Nothing is wasted. Every setback has shaped you. Every disappointment has built your resilience. Every challenge has carved out the strength you'll need to sustain the success you're building. That's why rebuilding isn't just about external success. It's about internal mastery. It's about becoming the person who can handle the weight of the life you desire. To live the life you promised yourself, you have to surround yourself with the right energy. You can't build a championship life while hanging around people who are comfortable losing. You can't build momentum while being influenced by those who settle. You must protect your environment like your dream depends on it. Because it does. Choose people who challenge you, who hold you accountable, who remind you of your power when you forget it. Create a space that supports your growth, not your excuses. Your environment can either be your anchor or your launch pad, and it's your responsibility to decide which it will be. Every conversation, every routine, every choice is either feeding your potential or starving it. Be intentional about what you allow in your space, because what surrounds you eventually shapes you. Living the life you promised yourself also means walking with gratitude while you grind. It means appreciating how far you've come without losing sight of where you're going. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It means fueling your growth from a place of strength instead of scarcity. When you're grateful for the lessons and even the painful ones, you take back control. You realize that everything that's happened was preparing you for this exact moment. The moment you finally stop talking about change and start becoming it. You stop looking at the dream as distant and start seeing it as inevitable as long as you stay committed. You start understanding that the universe doesn't reward wishful thinking. It rewards relentless persistence. The life you promised yourself isn't waiting for you to have everything figured out. It's waiting for you to take the next step with faith, and even when you can't see the whole path, rebuilding, reclaiming, and living that life isn't about perfection. It's about alignment, courage, and endurance. It's about waking up every day and choosing to be someone who honors their word, someone who keeps their promises, especially the one they made to themselves. Because at the end of the day, you can fool everyone else with excuses, but you can't fool yourself. You know whether you're building or breaking your dream. You know whether you're showing up or shrinking back. And the moment you decide to stop betraying your potential, and then the moment you choose to live the life you promised yourself with everything you have, that's when everything shifts. That's when life stops testing your commitment and starts rewarding it. That's when you move from wishing to becoming. That's when the vision that once existed only in your mind becomes the reality you live every single day. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe